Ned walked into the hall of the Banque Cotter Cantonaise and smiled at the expensively pearled female cashier. "I wonder if I might see the manager about my account." It was all very well for Babe to write down numbers and passwords, but how did one actually go about the business of withdrawing money from a Swiss bank? Ned was entirely prepared to be disappointed. He imagined a smooth-faced bank official staring at him with supercilious contempt. "This account was opened 30 years ago, sir. It cannot be yours." It was my father's. We have no instructions from him. Do you have papers, sir? Accreditation of any kind?" In his mind, the striped-trousered official would press a bell under his desk, and Ned would be tossed onto the pavement, or even sent to jail for attempted fraud. Or perhaps the British had got there first and left word with the bank. "Sir, this account was closed down many years ago. Our security officer will now escort you to the British consulate." Maybe the whole thing had all been a figment of Babe's imagination. In the event, things proved much simpler. The cashier passed him a form, and he filled in the account number. There was no space for passwords. She took the form, looked briefly down at it, and, with the bang of an electric lock, disappeared into a room behind the guichet. Within a very short space of time, a spruce young man, close enough to the striped-trousered official of Ned's imagination to make him smile, came through into the banking hall. "How do you do, sir?" he said in English, extending a hand. "Pierre Gossard. Would you like to come through?" Ned found himself in an expensively furnished office whose main features were a Louis XV desk and 2 matching chairs. Gossard sat down behind the desk and pointed to one of the chairs. "Just 1 or 2 formalities," he said, tapping into the keyboard of a desktop computer which was perched incongruously on the heavily ornamented desk. "Perhaps you would be good enough to write for me the opening password phrase." He passed over a compliment slip, and Ned wrote down, "Simon Says," and handed the slip across the desk to Gossard, who glanced at it briefly, looked at his computer screen, and nodded. He passed the paper back to Ned. "And the secondary phrase?" Ned wrote, "This is a stick-up," and passed it over again. Gossard smiled thinly and pushed the compliment slip into a small metal box. "Security paper," he explained. "It is no more. Well, everything seems to be satisfactory, my dear sir. How may I help you?" "Well, firstly, I'd like to know how much is in my account." Gossard typed at the computer. "You understand that since the account is linked to leading share indices on the European Bourse, I can only give you the balance as from close of trading on Friday. Quite a substantial sum has accrued over the past 30 years. Ned nodded as if talk of share indices, bourses, and substantial sums was a matter of everyday conversation to him. Gossard wrote a figure down on a fresh compliment slip and handed it to Ned, who looked down. "That's in Swiss francs," he said, gulping slightly. "Just so," said Gossard. Ned swallowed again and did a rapid calculation in his head. Roughly 2.5 francs to a pound. Good heavens. "As for what I would like to do with the account," he said as naturally as he could manage, "I should like a little time to think. Perhaps we can meet again on Friday? You don't need anything else from me, I take it?" "No, indeed, sir. Since your account is as old as it does not fall under new disclosure rules, but it is not old enough to qualify for inspection under the recent Jewish reparation schemes." "Excellent," said Ned. "Friday morning, 11 o'clock? I shall look forward to seeing you, sir." Ned was still trembling when he reached his suite at the Hotel d'Angleterre. He sat on the balcony sipping coffee and looking out over the lake. He watched a rainbow shimmering in the spray of the fountain. Staring into the rainbow, Ned wept. "Oh, Babe, why aren't you here with me?" He looked down at a hotel notepad on which he had jotted a set of numbers. "It is indeed a substantial sum," he whispered to himself, the tears dropping down onto the paper. "Even with the price of a cup of coffee being what it is today, £324 million is still a substantial sum. Oh, Babe, there is such a thing as justice. Truly, there is."